The time is just gone 9:45 a.m. this morning on News and Views. And as we head towards closure to the final 15 minutes of this morning's broadcast on News and Views, it's time now for us to go across to be joined by His Excellency, the Indonesian Ambassador to South Africa, Sir Salman Al Farsi. Talking about South Africa, let's look at South Africa, our relationship with Indonesia, trade opportunities, tourism potential, and we certainly in South Africa, we've got a rich history going hundreds of years with Indonesia. Your Excellency, Salman Al Farsi, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good morning, all listeners. Thank you very much indeed. Alhamdulillah. Many thanks for having me in your channel.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. In fact, it's our absolute pleasure having you with us, and it's an honor hosting you as part of our show this morning. Now, obviously, with Indonesia, we've got a very, very rich history with Indonesia and South Africa going back hundreds of years. And Alhamdulillah, we have been able to maintain that link with Indonesia throughout all these years.
Yes. I couldn't agree more on your statement indeed. To reflect the relationship between Indonesia and South Africa, I would touch on three aspects. First thing is on historical dividend. I would reflect it as a historical dividend. As you mentioned earlier, that more than 300 years ago, the relationship between the two countries has been developed quite significantly. There was migration of people from Indonesia to Cape Town had taken place from 17th century. At the beginning, they are slaves for economic activities in support of the Dutch colony at that time. But it's turned into the political reason, which we in the history we can read some political prisoners sent from Indonesia to South Africa. Then what we can also learn from the history that they brought not only Islam to South Africa, but also universal values such as liberation, tolerance, and emancipation that were delivered by Indonesian ulama or cleric. That's very, very important values in support of the struggle for independence for South African at that time. Indeed, even during the apartheid era. And then the second aspect that I would like to mention here is the political foundation. The Asia-Africa Conference in 1955 built a tremendous support to South African struggle for independence. And then once we have the formal diplomatic relation, we develop our relationship by agreeing on the strategic partnership between Indonesia and South Africa, which was signed in 2008. And we also developed an action plan that offer a solid platform to promote bilateral cooperation on various sectors. And then the third thing that I would like to mention here is the diplomatic infrastructure. The two countries have assigned their representative at the ambassador level. This is very important indeed in the diplomatic life. In addition to the Indonesian embassy in Pretoria, we have Consulate General in Cape Town. We have Indonesian Trade Promotion Center in Johannesburg. And we just recently inaugurated the Honorary Consul in Durban. It's indeed a very good infrastructure for us to develop stronger and stronger cooperation between Indonesia and South Africa.
Well, yes, we had the opportunity of talking with Ibrahim Patel and congratulating him on the appointment when this appointment was made. But also, before we start talking a bit about trade and the other important
Mhm.
issues, uh,
Yeah.
one other thing is on a humanitarian level, Your Excellency,
Yes.
South Africa has maintained fantastic relations. And when one looks at even some of the natural disasters, the tsunami, the earthquakes, and many of our humanitarian organizations, like the Al
Yes.
Imdad Foundations, many Muslim
Mhm. Mhm.
organizations have been
Mhm.
cooperating. So we've had
Mhm.
a very, very strong bond and a strong relationship.
That is very true. I should confess here that and thank you very much for South African in particular also South African Muslim for supporting us during our difficult situation with the natural disaster in Indonesia some time ago, and I think this bond of cooperation should be developed deeper and deeper, and we have the foundation for that, and I believe this cooperation can be not only on a humanitarian activities but also on more productive cooperation like building capacity and indeed building social infrastructure for the two nation indeed. Yeah.
Yes. Now let's just talk a bit about some of these opportunities that we speak of. Where and you correctly mentioned productively, just looking at some of these trade opportunities, and also in terms of potential in other areas, for example, tourism.
Yeah. Yeah. As I uh, um, reflect the potential of our economic cooperation, I should say frankly that the trade relation between the two countries is still far below the potential between the two countries. Our trade relation with South Africa in 2018, for instance, is only 1.7 billion, and it down to 1.4 billion in 2019 due to the lower demand as a consequence of the decreasing purchasing power in both countries because of the economic situation. It's not quite with us in 2019. Uh, I believe there are wide open opportunities to be tapped. The two countries should complement one to the other by taking a constructive role in taking its role in the global supply chain. For instance, there are some potential that we can complement each other by in the component industry, for instance. On technology, you have the technology, we have also the capacity to develop our industry. And secondly, on the food security, we export a lot of palm oil, and then I think we can cooperate more on the food security because both countries need food security a lot, and etc. etc. There are still many opportunities that we can do to make our economic cooperation reflect the potential that we have. Talking about Indonesia with 260 million people is talking about ASEAN, trading with ASEAN, for instance, because in ASEAN we have more than 600 million people. So it's a big market for South Africa. As well as talking about South Africa, it's also talking about the whole continent of Africa with 1.2 billion people, with a very potential market.
Well, certainly, and I think we know when we just talk about the size of the populations of both
Yes.
the Asian and the African continent, and I
Yes.
suppose this relationship with South Africa is so important
Yes.
for Indonesia to gain a foothold into Africa, into other countries, particularly in the southern African region.
That is very true. That is very true. And you also mentioned about tourism. I think the tourism sector, we complement each other as well. In Indonesia, we can offer so many wonders from the beach to the mountains, from the green jungle to so many things that we have. From also on the culinary, for instance, from the braai ala Indonesia to the spicy food. And there are so many things that we can offer. But at the same time, at the other end, South Africa also offer something that we cannot find in Indonesia. Millennials or the young generation would like to enjoy the safari life, the hunting tourism in South Africa, and that's why I think cooperation on the tourism sector is also very important. One thing that I have to mention here is about the visa regime, which in we extend the free visa for the South African with original with the ordinary passport to visit Indonesia without visa since 2015. I think it's time for South African to reciprocate our our service by giving us easy process to get visa to South Africa. We have every year more than 10 million Indonesian traveling abroad. So this is very potential for tourism sector, especially also on the historic, historic tourism between Indonesia and South Africa.
Well, Your Excellency, you certainly have got my interest, and I need to put Indonesia on my list of countries to visit
Sure,
at this point in time. So, inshallah, we're looking forward to
inshallah.
that. Once we get over this pandemic, and inshallah, why not?
Sure.
Just final thoughts from you before we take leave of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I believe that Indonesia and South Africa are two countries which give have the very significant role in each region. Strategic partnership is the reflection of the need, the keen of the two countries to develop more and more deeper cooperation with in many things, in many aspects. So I think it's time for us to think about how to make our cooperation from strong to strong, including on many things. In fact, on education, on economy, on tourism, and many things. But and the embassy is ready to facilitate any activities which can promote the cooperation between the two countries.
Well, Jazakallah so much for that. Shukran for your time,
I mean,
Your
thank you, sir.
Excellency. It's been a wonderful, it's been great having you with us and taking time,
Thank you very much.
obviously, from your busy schedule and talking with us, inshallah. We wish you all the best. Assalamu alaikum wa
Wa-
rahmatullah.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullah.
That's the Indonesian ambassador to South Africa, His Excellency Salman Al Farsi. And with that, we are going to be winding down. We've got next up Juice 21, Sheikh Mishari Rashid Al Afasi once again. And the time is just headed straight to 10 a.m. So from myself and the rest of the team out here, Mohammed Arai, Shazia Zubair Osman, thanking you for this wonderful production once again and bringing us the content that we have brought to our listeners on News and Views on Salam Media or on Al Ansar and also on One Nation 88.9 FM. And not forgetting Ziad, who has been extremely busy pressing all the right buttons this morning. So, from all of us, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.